Good morning, everyone. It's Ellie again. So I just wanted to, first, before we do the video, give you guys a little update. If you haven't watched any of the other videos that I posted recently, the interviews that I did mention in one of them that on Mondays, I'm going to be posting videos for parents, teens, or elementary age students. And then on Tuesdays, I'm going to be posting videos that are interviews that I do with people who either work within our agency or who work in other agencies. That way people can be a little more informed on what we do, what other agencies do, but also kind of how everyone is functioning during this time and resources that are still available, because I know that stress levels can be high and some of us may not know what is still out there and what's still available. And so I'll be doing interviews with people on Tuesdays. So today, it's Monday, and I'm really tired, so I'm sorry if I seem a little out of it. But today's video is for my elementary age students. So good morning to my elementary age students. I am starting our body safety video today. And so with this video, I am not going to do the full lesson on here. I'm going to break it up into two separate parts because it is a longer lesson, and I don't want you to have to sit there for 30 to 40 minutes watching a video. So I'm just going to do the first portion where we're going to talk about different ways to help keep our bodies safe. And then I'm going to do, we're going to talk about boundaries and consent, and then we'll kind of end it there. And then next time we'll talk about the differences between appropriate and inappropriate touch, and the circle of trust, like who do we go to if something were to happen, okay? So, good morning, everyone. Usually I like to start this lesson off by asking my elementary students, what are different ways that you help keep your body safe and healthy? But I can't do that. So, if you want to, though, you can leave in the comments different ways that you help keep your body safe and healthy. That would be fantastic. I'd love to hear from you guys. So leave it in the comments if you want to. But what I'm going to do is kind of talk about different ideas and different ways that students help keep their body safe, like answers that they typically give to me whenever I'm in the classroom. So one of the very first things that I hear is eating healthy food. And yes, that is important. Eat healthy food, eat your veggies, eat your fruits, get protein, right? And then people also bring up drinking plenty of water. That's important. Drink plenty of water. People talk about exercise, and yes, exercise is important. And so I know right now we may be stuck inside a lot, watching videos or playing video games or sitting in front of a screen. But make sure that you are still getting up and getting outside and going for walks or doing some sort of exercise, and getting away from the screen for a bit. That's really important for you right now, okay? Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't think about that I usually bring up in my lessons is sleep. We need to make sure that we get plenty of sleep, right? You don't want to get too much sleep. That's not going to be good for you. But you also don't want to get too little sleep. And so what I tell my students is, and one of the other lessons, we're going to talk about big feelings like feeling sad or feeling scared or feeling angry or frustrated or stressed out or nervous or whatever it may be. And whenever we don't get enough sleep, a lot of times those feelings can be amplified, or situations that typically wouldn't bother us end up seeming like a much bigger deal because we are tired. And so mentally and emotionally, we're not functioning at our best. And so sleep is very important for helping to keep us mentally, emotionally, and physically safe and healthy. So get plenty of rest. And then we also talk about things like sports. And so if there are any of you who play sports or who want to play sports, with each sport, you need different protective gear, right? Like volleyball, you need knee pads. In soccer, you need the shin guards. If you are in track or anything like that, you need the proper running shoes, you need spikes. Basketball, Typically the shoes that you wear come up a little bit more to help protect the ankles, or people wear ankle braces so that you don't roll your ankles or sprain your ankles. Football, you need a ton of gear. Baseball, helmet and glove. And then all of our other sports, like if you're in karate, or if you do martial arts or anything like that, or if you do gymnastics, you know, you have the mats to help keep you safe whenever you hit the ground. So with sports, if you do play, or if you want to play, it's important for you to wear the protective gear, right? You have to wear the protective gear. And so I always say it's the same like whenever you're riding a bike or skateboarding or rollerblading or riding your scooter, or whatever it is that you do outside during your free time. It's important for you to wear the proper protective gear. I tell students about whenever I was younger, I was riding my bike and I wasn't wearing a helmet, and I hit a rock and I ended up flying forward off of my bike and went face forward into the ground and ended up like cutting my entire face up. And so that was pretty painful, but things can happen. And so I know a lot of the time we don't want to wear a helmet, or you know, knee pads, elbow pads, anything like that, but it is important to help keep our bodies safe, especially our heads. So wearing that helmet is important, and wearing a seatbelt whenever you are in the car. That's another great way to help keep your body safe, right? Or looking both ways before you cross the street. I tell my adults this too, and I'm going to tell you guys, but I tell adults this all the time. Whenever you're walking in a parking lot, or whenever you're walking in the store, or just whenever you're out in public in general, don't have both of your earbuds in and be looking down at a screen. That's not a great way to help keep yourself safe, because you're not aware of your surroundings, right? You don't know what's going on around you, and especially if you're walking in the street or the parking lot, other people aren't always paying attention, so you need to make sure that you pay attention to help keep yourself safe. Another thing that's really important, especially right now during this time, but I mean all the time, it just looks a little different right now, is hygiene. Practicing good hygiene. So brushing our teeth, taking a bath, brushing our hair, washing our hair, making sure that we stay clean, and changing our clothes, right? All of that is a really important way to help keep our bodies healthy and safe. And like right now, if we go out in public, wearing a mask and keeping a distance from people so that we don't get sick and so that other people don't get sick. Washing our hands often, not putting our hands on our face or in our mouth, even though I've been doing that. Don't do that though. And so practicing good hygiene is important. So those are all ways that we can help keep our bodies healthy and safe. What we're focusing on in this lesson is more about our personal space. In our first lesson, we talked about boundaries. And so for those of you who remember my definition for a boundary, go ahead and put it in the comments below. But my definition for a boundary is what's okay and what's not okay. So what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. It's important for you to know that. And it's important for you to be able to set those boundaries with people, not just strangers, but people that you know as well, letting them know what you're okay with and what you're not okay with. So if someone is doing something that's making you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, it is okay for you to let them know. It's important for you to let them know and to set those boundaries with them, okay? So boundaries, setting those boundaries, knowing what our boundaries are, that is another great way to help keep our bodies safe and healthy. The other word that we're gonna learn before we end this video is consent. So if any of you know what consent is, you can put that in the comments as well. But basically consent means getting permission. So it's like, the way I always describe it is, it's like if you're gonna go on a field trip. Your teacher has to get your parent or guardian's consent first, or permission first. And so what they do is they send home a consent form. And let's say that your parent or your guardian sends that consent form back and they write maybe on there. Does your teacher have consent? No. Now, let's say that your parent or guardian sends it back and it's blank. Does your teacher have consent or permission? No. Now, think about this one before you answer it, okay? Because this one always tricks people. Let's say that your parent or guardian sends back the permission slip or the consent form and they put no. Does your teacher have consent? No, they don't. A lot of people say, yes, they do. No, they don't have consent, because remember, consent means permission. So if someone is telling you no, Does that mean that you have permission? No. So that also means that you don't have consent. So if your parent or guardian puts a no on that form, then your teacher does not have consent to take you on that field trip. All right. So that's the first part of consent, is it needs to be a definite yes, right? A definite yes. Now that's with written form, right? We're talking about if we're asking to get into someone's personal space, or if we're asking to borrow something from someone, we need to hear that verbal yes, meaning we hear them say yes, and it's a definite yes. And we're going to talk about why in a second, but we hear them say yes. And it's an enthusiastic yes, meaning there's no doubt in our mind they're okay with whatever is about to happen, whether we're about to borrow something, whether we're about to give them a hug, whatever it may be. So yes, that's the first part of consent. All right. The second part is that it is informed. So let me get my markers here. Staying on the field trip part before I get into this. Now, again, your teacher sends home a consent form. Let's say that form, on it, all it says is, we're going on a field trip. Can your child come? Is that enough information for your parents or guardians? No, right? They need to know where you're going, what day you're going, what time you're going, how you're getting there, if you need food, if food is provided, what you're going to be doing while you're there, if I haven't already said that. If they can shop around, who to call in case of an emergency. There's so many different things that they need to know, right? So it needs to be informed. The other thing is like this. So let's say that, or another way of describing it is like this. So let's say that these markers belong to my friend, all right? And I ask my friend, hey, friend, can I borrow your pink marker? And they say, yes, absolutely. Well, there's my verbal, definite, enthusiastic yes, right? And so I take the pink marker. But let's say I take the purple marker too. Did I get consent for both? No, I got consent just for the pink one. How many of you have had that happen though, where someone will ask to borrow one thing and they'll end up borrowing other things as well? Or how many of you have been in a situation where someone doesn't even ask, they just take things? How many of you have ever been in a situation where someone gets in your personal space, or they give you a hug without even asking, or they do ask, like they ask, hey, is it okay if I give you a high five, or if I stand next to you, and you say yes to that, but they end up like getting way too close, or they give you a hug? How many of you have had that happen? How does stuff like that make you feel? It might make you feel uncomfortable. It might make you lose some trust in that person. Might make you feel disappointed or upset or frustrated, especially if they're taking things that you really care about. Some of you may not really care about your markers. I know in school I really cared about my markers. So if people took them, I got really frustrated. But thinking about things that you care about, or if you've ever been in that situation, all the different negative emotions that you feel, right? And so we don't want people to do that to us, but we also don't want to be responsible for doing that to other people. So going back to the verbal part, especially whenever it comes to something like hugs, I still have a hard time with telling people no. Now, as I teach, right, it is okay for you to tell people no, especially whenever it comes to physical touch. If you don't want someone touching you, it is more than okay for you to tell someone no. Even if it's someone that you are really close with, like a best friend or a family member, it is okay for you to tell them, no, I don't want to hug right now. But some of us have a hard time with that. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. So I know for myself, sometimes I have a hard time saying no. And so what I'll do instead is I'll say, I guess so, or I'll shrug my shoulders, or I just won't say anything at all. I'll avoid making eye contact, or I'll kind of like do this and close my body off to give off like the idea that I don't really want to be touched, but I won't just say no. And so sometimes when that happens, people think that it's okay for them to give me a hug. Like if I say, I guess, or I don't know, maybe, or if I don't say anything at all, they just go ahead and give me a hug anyway. And that ends up making me feel more uncomfortable. And we don't want to do that to people. So that's why if you ask someone, hey, can I give you a hug? Or hey, can I borrow something? And they don't answer you, or they just say, I guess, or I don't know, maybe, you probably shouldn't do it. Because maybe they're not comfortable with saying no, all right? And so that's why I say it's important for us to wait for that enthusiastic yes, that definite yes, because we don't want to be responsible for making someone feel more uncomfortable. We don't want to make someone feel unsafe. We don't want to do something that someone's not okay with, right? So if we don't get that definite yes, then it's better for us to just not do it. So if we are asking for consent and we don't get that definite yes, do not rely on body language. Just say something like if you ask your friend for a hug and they say, I don't know, maybe, or they don't say anything at all, just say, that's okay, you know, maybe later, whenever you feel like actually getting a hug. Or is there anything else that I can do to help you right now? Or would you rather just be left alone? You know, how can I help you? What can I do? The other thing is, I get a lot of students who ask, well, it feels weird asking for permission. Here's my thing. Yes, sometimes it can feel weird asking for permission, but it's better for us to ask for permission. Now, it feels weird asking for permission because it's not something that's really taught to us, right? So at first, it's something that we have to get used to, but it's better for us to ask first because not everyone is okay with someone borrowing their things. Not everyone is okay with a hug. One day they may be okay with a hug, the next day they may not be okay with a hug. So it is better for us to ask. If you are not comfortable with asking first, then you should not be doing it, all right? So if you're not comfortable with asking, then don't do it, all right? So that is where we are going to leave this video. And then next time, we'll dive a little bit deeper into the whole crossing boundaries, you know, how to tell people no with hugs, especially people that we're close to, like friends or family, where we might feel a little uncomfortable, and practicing that. And then the differences between appropriate and inappropriate touch. All right. So again, keep an eye out for our other videos. Leave comments, ask questions. I'll put our phone number and our website on here for you guys. We are still here. If you need anything, if you have questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be, feel free to reach out. Please, 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 please. And I hope you all stay safe and healthy, and I will see y'all again in a week. Have a great one. All right. Bye.